This video is going to be about screen printing, setting up your screens. If I jump into this image here that I've set up, this is all vector work and it's set up with two colors. So if I zoom in here, one color is red and the other is black. And if I go Command Y, what you will see is that the color, the red color, is going underneath the black. So it's set up on separate layers. Now it looks like nothing's happening, but if I change the color of this head to blue, and the opacity is set to multiply, what you'll see is you'll see where the colors cross. So I'm putting a little bit of spreading in, and one color will cross the other. Obviously this is quite a big area that's going in, and it's simply because I know that the top one is black. If I swap it back, and it's going to conceal the red, so the red is going underneath the black. And if I come up here and have a look at the horns, you'll find the same thing. If I go Command Y to see the key line, you'll see it, but it's a little bit smaller because it's going to be a lot more obvious. So there's going to be a little wee bit of overlap. If I look at the layers, I'm setting everything up on individual layers. So I've got one for the red and I've got one for the black. I've also got this layer with the type over the top, and you can see here it's a little bit darker as the blue goes over top of the red. So this is the way that the colors are going to mix. If I wanted to, when I send it to the printer and print it on the film for screen printing, everything has to be in black or white. So I would grab the red and I'm ready to go. I'll go select, find the same fill color, and I'll change that color to black. Now all of these things can be shuffled around. This is just for the economy of screen printing. So get this layer now. I can move it. I can even rotate it. When we line up the screens, we're going to be lining them up by eye. And there's a process for doing that. So I could set this page up to send it through as an A4 and then line it up when I print the ink. So this one would be printed red and this one would be printed black. So I'll go back a few steps. So that's sending it from Illustrator. Now if I want to do something more complicated, I can do it through Photoshop. So I've got this type here and I'm going to send this file to Photoshop. So I go File, Export As. There's an option that says Photoshop, and I want to go Use Artboards. So it's going to retain the whole page and not just the images. So I'll call this Final, export it, CMYK. That's fine. The main thing here is that I can write the layers. So I'll go OK, and now I'll jump into Photoshop and I'll open that file up. Here we go. I'm opening it up. Now with the layers, I'm just going to make a new layer. Going to fill it with white and drag it to the bottom so I don't have that transparency. So now I've got black on one layer and I've got the head separate to everything else. I've got the red layer and I've got this blue layer as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a texture through this text. So I'll go open. I'm going to open up a file. So this is just a monoprint. I'm just going to select all and cut it. Get rid of that. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go to the channels. Make a new channel. I start with white. So white's the background color. So I'm going to go Command Delete or Control Backspace on a PC. Command V, which pastes in that texture. And I'm just going to go Command or Control T, and I'm just going to make that texture a wee bit smaller. It's in the channels, so I'm going to go to the levels, and I'm just going to make it a bit more black and white. And I've pushed the contrast up to try and make it a bit speckly. I can go Command I, Control I on a PC, hit the selection, and now when I come back into my layers, go to my text, and I'll make a mask. If that doesn't look so good, I can go Command I, and that looks a wee bit better that way around. If I unlock it, then this texture, I can move it around until it's affecting the type the way I like it. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it like that. And now, if this is how I want the final print, I need to change everything to black and white, but what I'll do is I'll make a bitmap, check that in as well. So I'm going to open up a file that I've got. Here we go. So to make a bitmap, first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go Control L. I'm not going to go through the channels because it's pretty clean, and I'm going to try and make it a bit more black and white. Now if I go Image, Mode, the first thing I need to do is I need to change it to grayscale before I can make a bitmap. Image Mode, now I can go to Bitmap. Usually you want to go about 3 times up on the input number. Just put in 300 pixels per inch. If it's pixels per centimeter, it doesn't matter too much. The main thing here is halftone screen. Now when I go OK, it's going to come up with some settings. The angle doesn't matter, I'm going to leave it as round. You'll see there's other options here for line. And 15, the higher the number, the finer the dot's going to be. Smaller the number, the larger. So if I go OK, you can see the dots are a pretty good level. You probably don't want to go super, super fine. So with this, I'm going to go Image, Mode, back to grayscale, a ratio of 1:1, and now I'm going to select all. I'm going to cut it, come in here, and I can paste it. I'll go Command T because it's quite big at the moment. Get it to a size I want. I hit return, and you can see it doesn't have transparency, so I need to put it through the channels. So I'll select all, cut it, go to my channels. I'll make a new channel. I want to start off with white. The background color here is white, so I'll go Command Delete. Command V. It's going to paste that skull in. Now I know that I just need to go Command I or Control I on a PC. Then I can make my selection. Go to the layers, and at this stage I'm just going to fill it with yellow. So I'll go Option, Delete, Command D. If I want to see how it would turn out, then I need to change this to multiply, and that will give us a good visual indication of how it's going to look. If I come back to the skull, and I'll just take it back to a grayscale image, and I'll do that bitmap process again. Mode, bitmap, halftone screen. This time I'm going to change it to line of 15 and the angle's 45. So you will see the difference in the way the image is looking now. So I'll grab this one, image mode, back to grayscale, go OK. I can select all and cut it. Back in here, paste it, and in this case I'm just going to bring the image over like that. I'll select all, Command or Control A, Command or Control X to cut it, and again to get the transparency I'll put it into the channels. I'll start with white and I'll paste it. Command D or Control D to deselect, Command or Control I, I'll select it, back to my layers, and now I'll fill it with another colour. I'll change it to 100% cyan. Go OK. Option delete or Alt delete or Alt backspace to fill. Command or Control D to deselect. And again, how's the ink going to turn out? I'll put it on multiply to have a look. Now with this, I'm going to add a bit of a mask in. I'm going to get the paintbrush tool, and I'm just going to select a brush that I like. So a brush that was an old one. Shape dynamics, you can see down here what's going to happen. This is going to stop it from looking like a computer generated brush, and it's going to start to make it look a little more realistic. Use this left square bracket to make it a bit smaller, and with black as my foreground colour, I'm just going to ease into this image a little bit, make the brush a different size. So I like the way that's looking. I can put a mask on the yellow and do the same thing a little bit if I want. Run through that image. Now if I wanted to, let's clean up a bit along the bottom. If I wanted to print this out, and actually I'm just going to change the colour of the type, 0 tab 100. Shift delete, and so that's gone through and it's put the colour there. Now all of this stuff, if I wanted to print it out to the screens, everything has to be black. So with this one, I'll make sure I've got black. Option Shift Delete. I don't need multiply anymore. Option Shift Delete. I suppose it doesn't really matter if it's on multiply, get the type, Option Shift Delete, or Alt Shift Backspace. So I'm just filling with this foreground colour black. The red, so I'm going to do the same thing, Option Shift Delete, going through, getting all of those, filling them, black is black. That's fine. So what I would do now is I would print this as one print. this is the next one. Type is another one. This skull is another one. This skull is another separation. So it's just because we've got all these kind of different colors going on. So a few more bits. If I get this one here and go ahead, this as 100% yellow. So there's my yellow. This one I think was going to be 100% cyan. Oh, I've got it around the wrong way, but this still kind of looks quite good. I'll put it on multiply. The type, I might leave that as black. The red, I'm going to do it as 100% magenta. And I'll go through all of these, filling them, and we can see we've got the colour showing through. And then the last one, black, I've got that, and maybe with this one, with the black, we'll see what it looks like if I change it to 100% cyan. Okay, and so these, now it's getting lost a wee bit, but we can play with this a little bit as well. So if I come in here, look, I'm just going to switch off the blue skull for a minute. Now the blue is affecting it, so if I want to have the white of this face, I could come up to the mask of the blue. Just make black my foreground color, because I know and I'm just going to change the opacity down a wee bit just so I can see it, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint with black. I'll just get a proper paintbrush, and you can see as I paint in here, it's masking the blue of that skull, and so I can see the white coming through, so that the head won't completely disappear. Let's see how it looks now when it goes back up to 100%. So we can now see that face working as a mask. So this time if I did the separations, I'd want to do them a wee bit differently. And let's say with the white of this head here, we can see that the yellow's having the biggest effect. So if I come up to the mask for the yellow, I can do exactly the same thing. I can start painting with the mask and getting rid of that yellow off the face. Controlling where I see things and where I don't with the yellow. I can obviously come outside that boundary if I want, tidying things up and having things, the colours exactly where I want them. Now this one with the separations is going to be a little bit different because we now have a number of blues. So we've got this blue and we've got this one. So if I switch off all the other layers, now with these two layers, as a separation, I would do them as black. And I'm just going to drag these down beside each other, and I'll go through and fill them with black. Option Shift Delete or Alt Shift Backspace. So now I have one separation, and obviously I'll change the name of that. Blue, the yellow, I'm going to change to black, call it yellow. We've got our red. So I'm just going through and filling it all with black. And then we have our type. I'm just going to call that one black. Make sure you're on the text and not on the mask. And actually that one already is black. So now when we print it, we print one separation for the screen, switch that off, print the next one, and print the next one. So this one we would print yellow, put the mask there, black, red and blue, and line it up by eye.